Coming up, the Attorney General's race. As listed on the ballot, the candidates are Bill Meier, Republican, Jim Mattox, Democrat, Katherine S. Youngblood, Libertarian. Republican Bill Meier received his bachelor's and doctorate of jurisprudence from the University of Texas at Austin. He served 8 years as the Democratic state senator from the Hearst-Euless-Bedford area. Meier says the key issues are crime, with the Attorney General's office acting as a coordinator with other agencies, and his conservative philosophy. Jim Mattox, Democrat, is a graduate of Baylor and Southern Methodist University School of Law. He has served as a Dallas County Assistant District Attorney and for 2 terms in the legislature before his 1976 election to the U.S. House. Mattox says the Attorney General should represent all Texans rather than special interests and coordinate law enforcement agencies. The Libertarian candidate is Katherine Youngblood. She is a corporate attorney and an arbitrator for the Better Business Bureau in Houston. Youngblood earned a doctorate of jurisprudence from the University of Georgia. She is opposed to government regulation of utilities and using force to prevent private acts between consenting adults. Good evening, candidates. Good evening, panelists. We will begin with 2-minute opening statements and 1-minute rebuttals. The order of speaking was determined by lot. Ms. Youngblood's representative won first choice and chose the 3rd position. Mr. Mattox's representative won second choice and chose the 2nd position. So we're now ready for Mr. Meier's opening statement.
Thank you, Susan. Thanks to KERA for the public service that you're performing in holding these debates so that voters can familiarize themselves with the candidates for the Attorney General's office in Texas. When one cuts through all of the campaign oratory and the political subplot, the overriding issue in the Attorney General's race is simple. Which candidate would be the better lawyer for the people of Texas? Using that as a guideline, the choice is easy. That choice is Republican Bill Meier. Those are the words of the Fort Worth Star-Telegram, my hometown newspaper, in endorsing my candidacy for Attorney General. They're echoed by endorsements of newspapers in Dallas, Amarillo, Midland, and Lubbock, and in the towns of Longview and Nacogdoches and Victoria, and other newspapers all over the state of Texas. These editors have met with the candidate, they've studied the background, and they know that I have advocated the strong conservative principles that most Texans share, and that I have the interests of all Texans at heart. To protect the Texas way is my campaign pledge, and I'll do that as your Texas Attorney General. Thank you very much for the chance to be here tonight.
Good evening. Good evening, friends. I'm glad to be with you tonight, and thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule just to care about your government enough to watch us. Throughout this campaign, I've attempted to take the high road and discuss the real issues in this campaign. Try to stay out of the mud, and I hope that we can do that tonight. I really hope that we can, because there are a lot of important issues discussed in this campaign. Tonight, I think as we discuss the issues, I want you to remember that whether you're a Democrat, Republican, or Independent, I want to be your next Attorney General. I'm going to be a strong spokesman for law enforcement in this state. That's the reason I've been endorsed by 149 different district and county attorneys. They want an Attorney General that knows how to practice law, knows how to prosecute, knows how to fight crime at the grassroots level. I can do that. I've also been endorsed by the Texas Consumers Association because they want an Attorney General that will enforce the consumer protection laws. They will fight the high utility rates. I'll do that. I've also been endorsed by the Texas Senior Citizens Political Action Committee. They want an Attorney General that will attempt to try to stop the abuse and neglect of our senior citizens in the nursing home facilities. The choice is clear. The choice is one between an Attorney General that will represent the people or an Attorney General that's going to represent the big corporate special interest groups of this state. Along with my opponent, I've had a number of newspaper endorsements also, of course. The Dallas Times-Herald, the Austin American Statesman, Sweetwater Reporter, the Belton Journal, the Seagoville Suburban News, San Antonio Light, San Antonio Express, the Corpus Christi Caller, and there will be a great number of others as we move forward in this campaign.
Thank you very much. Ms. Youngblood.
Libertarians believe in liberty. We define liberty as the ability of an individual to live his life the way that he wants to, provided that he does not interfere through physical force or fraud with the identical rights other people have to live their lives the way they want to. Certainly there are other values other than liberty which give life meaning and make it worthwhile, but libertarians have all concluded that liberty is our top value and the one which makes all others possible. There can be no sacrifice and no compromise on this basic moral principle. I would like to challenge each of my opponents to state for me and for the voters, what is your top value? What is your basic moral principle? What defines you the way liberty defines a libertarian?
Mr. Meier, you have 1 minute for a rebuttal.
Well, the 1 minute I'd like to take in expounding on what I said as it started, that protecting the Texas way is my campaign promise. To me, that is a basic understanding on the part of us in Texas that the Judeo-Christian family is the basic building block of a free society. The Texas way is understanding that our business climate is the strongest of any state in the Union, and that it's the stewardship of every elected state official to work to see that we maintain the opportunity for work for our children, just as we have enjoyed that as Texans. It's our important priority as Attorney General to work in law enforcement to see that we follow the dictates of the Texas legislature in enacting the death penalty law, in working on the areas of trying to curb drug trafficking, and to see that our streets are made safe in the future. I've done that as a state senator, and I'll do that as your Attorney General.
Mr. Mattox, 1 minute for rebuttal.
I don't think I need my 1 minute. I will just forego it. Give you the time back.
Well, thank you very much, Mr. Mattox. Ms. Youngblood.
Gentlemen, I have to conclude that you have no basic moral principles which defines the way that you would conduct both your personal life and your political life.
Okay, thank you very much, candidates. Now we're ready for reporters' questions. Leading off will be Barbara Garrison, Austin Bureau Chief, the San Antonio Light. Next, Cecil Johnson, editorial writer, the Fort Worth Star-Telegram. Candidates' answer time is 1 minute. 30 seconds is allotted for comment or rebuttal. Ms. Garrison, we're ready for your question, Mr. Meier.
Thank you. Mr. Meier, I don't recall that Mr. Mattox was exactly endorsed by the Texas Consumers Association, but they, in fact, for the first time in their history, did come out in opposition to a candidate. That candidate is you, Senator. They cite your opposition in the past to the Public Utilities Commission, to amendments to the Deceptive Trade Practices Act, which weakened that act, to product liability legislation, to increasing interest rate ceilings, and other legislation that you carried that they consider pro-business to the detriment of consumers. They call you one of the most anti-consumer legislators in history. How do you respond?
Ms. Garrison, the statement you gave about the Texas Consumer Association is one made by Rebecca Lightsey, who is the director of that association, in Austin last week. She represents in her association less than 0.5% in the total membership of the citizens of Texas, and I don't believe that she speaks for the interests of consumers. My conservative principles that I've advocated in urging that we needed to make amendments to the Texas Deceptive Trade Practices Act in 1979 were adopted by the great majority of the members of the legislature. We do have still the strongest bill in the country on consumer matters, and I believe that we can work in our state to keep Texas the strong state that it is without dealing with what amounts to knee-jerk reactions, merely approving what any person who says they represent the consumer interest may throw out for us to do.
Mr. Mattox, you have 30 seconds to rebut.
I have been endorsed by the Texas Consumer Association. I think you may have noticed in the paper, a quote said that they did not endorse. They do. They've endorsed my candidacy, and I'm pleased to have that. I'm also pleased to say that I think if you look at my voting record, it's one of being very pro-consumer. It's one of attempting to regulate the public utilities of this state.